Hello everyone, Ed back for another video. Today we're going to do the Death Guard book from the new start set Dark Imperium. We've already done the Primaris Space Marine one, so if you haven't seen that already and are interested, it should be up on the channel along with this one. So obviously you can pop over and watch that, or stay and watch this first, depending on your leaning towards Chaos or Imperial. So we're going to have a quick look through the Death Guard book. Obviously it's not too long, so it's about 24 pages. We're just going to have a quick look at some of the background, some of the rules, and just take a bit of in-depth look at some of the equipment and things like that, some of the tactics that could come together with the Death Guard as they are in this book. Obviously they'll be getting a full codex and lots more rules at some point soon, but for now this is what we have. So let's dive straight in. So this first couple of pages is mainly just some basic background on the Death Guard, their mode of warfare, that slow, inexorable march through fire to the enemy and just slowly grinding them down and just outlasting people. I've always thought Death Guard versus Necrons would be a really good game, just because no one would probably ever die and it would just be a grinding match till the last turn to see who was left standing. Also goes into a little bit of their background before the heresy, during, and obviously post-heresy as well, along with some more up-to-date background of what they've been doing recently, including invading Ultramar now, which is kind of where the background's frozen after the Dark Imperium novel and the rulebook background, with Guilliman after the Indomitus Crusade going back to sort of take control in Macragge and drive out the Death Guard and Mortarion, while the Death Guard try and bring it to ruin. Also got now some sort of character titles, Lords of Contagion and Noxious Blightbringers. The Lords of Contagion are obviously your lords, your big tough heroes, and they are very much that. Even in this sort of basic box with a limited amount of choices, they're already showing how tough they are. We'll go on to the rules soon, but you can certainly make some really tough lords. The Blightbringers are more like your heralds. So like the Primaris Space Marines, we've got the Ancients with the banner, keep the morale of the army going, things like that. That's more what they do, but they have a big bell rather than banner, and that sort of rings out for Nurgle's diseases and sort of heralds his coming to the world. You've then got Malignant Plaguecasters, which are basically the sorcerers of the Death Guard, so they would have been librarians or something of the like when they were loyal. And all their sorcery is based around plague. Obviously, there's as a result a lot of direct damage. You would think, but there's also probably going to be some defensive spells. I haven't actually seen the spells yet, so I am guessing at that. But obviously, to toughen up the people around them, that seems like a pretty good guess. Then you got the Plague Marines, so sort of the soldiers of the line, like the Primaris Intercessors. These are the men who would have been, when they were loyal, sort of just your Legion backbone. Maybe some of the specialists as well. Some of the special weapons special weapon troopers. The Death Guard have become slower over the millennia, but they've also become tougher and tougher and almost immune to harm because of Nurgle's diseased blessings. We also then have a photed bloat drone, which is basically half machine, half tentacle. It's a bit like a flying sentinel, I suppose, is from the Astra Militarum, which is not a bad way of looking at it, but it's obviously tougher and it's got better weaponry as well. So it is beyond that in capability, but it's the same sort of thing. It's got that main sort of cockpit, and then instead of having two legs, it's got two turbines, so it can fly through the air. So that might give Nurgle a bit of speed, which is something they're generally lacking. And then you've got Poxwalkers. So the Poxwalkers really are sort of plague zombies, really, if anything. They're not demons as such. They are pretty much people who fall into the plague of Nurgle but have been kept alive, whether that's because they sort of made a bargain with Nurgle at the last minute as they were dying, said, you know, I'll serve you if you keep me alive, so they became one of these, or whether it's Nurgle decided to keep someone alive because you know they were quite a faithful servant of the Imperium and he finds it funny, or whatever it is. So they're kind of your normal Imperial Guardsman or your just citizen turned by Nurgle into a helpful bit of cannon fodder, really. So this bit, the Tainted Sons, go on to the background for Death Guard in a bit more depth, talking about their different factions, different symbolisms, or sort of the icons of Nurgle like you have here, some specific characters as well. So this is what's his name? Lord Golgoth's. So that's this warlord here, and then you've got some Poxwalkers and Plague Marines as well. It just kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what the Death Guard are like up close, and also sort of gives you some ideas for maybe starting your own faction. So these are different Death Guard Vectoriums, as they call them. There's some really cool ideas here, some really cool paint jobs, proving that you don't have to do green, bone, or maybe a kind of rusty brown sort of colour. If you're doing Death Guard, you can do so many colours and so many different backgrounds and make them very unique, which is very cool. And it's something that people are going to really want to look at doing, given that so many people are probably going to be collecting Death Guard. Part of these models are epic, obviously, but they're also in the Dark Imperium box, so a lot of people are going to be using them. A lot of people are going to be collecting them. So maybe looking at trying to make them quite unique is you know, a really good idea to make them stand out. I was actually going to go through a couple of them just to give you a bit of a flavour of them, but there are quite a few to look at. So the first one are the Glooming Lords. So you can see they're painted in black with kind of like a brass colour. So really the only reason you know he's Nurgle, because really that's kind of the Black Legion territory, is because of the symbols, like symbols of Nurgle, but also the disease and things like that, and pipes on the top letting out sort of plague vapours. But just to look at in kind of a basic way, he actually looks more Black Legion than anything. So the Glooming Lords are a morose band of killers who march into battle surrounded by colossal clouds of droning black demon flies. They harbour a particular hatred for the sorcerous warbands of Tzeentch, whose vibrant, colourful vigour they regard as insufferable. So that's kind of cool. So they've got, hence maybe why they wear such a dull colour. They don't like vibrancy, they don't like colour, they don't like life. Really, they're kind of like almost the negative side of Nurgle, that kind of we just want to kill everything side, rather than the we celebrate all life and death together, which is more the kind of standard Nurgle. And they've got a bit of rivalry with Tzeentch, which is again really cool because you can play that off maybe on your bases, put them with some 1,000 Sun heads on the bases or something like that. So that's quite a cool little thing to be able to do with them. Let's go over there, because they look quite different again. So they're called the Mouldering Claw. Again, a slightly more standard Nurgle colour scheme, but again, a lot darker. And you've again got gold and silver, which you often don't see with Nurgle. Well, especially the gold. The silver maybe is a bit more common. So again, a little bit of a different colour scheme. The Mouldering Claw delight in the brutality of close quarters combat. They like to close with the enemy line as quickly as possible before carving them apart with jagged plague knives. Even a single cut from one of their toxin-laced blades is certain to cause an agonising death. So again, cool bit of background there, so you can base your army around combat, whereas Death Guard are generally seen as a mixed weaponry army, but if anything, that kind of mid-range army gets into the mid-range and then just outlasts you in a shooting match. They're not really seen as a combat army or a particularly long-range army. So again, that's a cool bit of background for them. You can make your army very combat-based. You could give them transports to get them up there quicker, because it just says they like to close as quickly as possible. Or you could kind of go for the standard Plague Marine Infantry wave. So a couple of options there. So you can see there's some really kind of rich background in here, which is really cool to try and base your army off. So now we have a painting gallery, Sons of Mortarion. So sort of just the models from Dark Imperium. They do look really awesome. I especially love the Bloat Drone and the Lord of Contagion. I think they look absolutely stunning. The Plague Marines as well stand out anyway, but especially as a basic troop when you compare them to the other basic sort of troop models of other armies. They look particularly awesome. Okay, so we're on to Death Guard datasheet. So we're on to kind of the rules now, sort of the important bit to a lot of people, if you like. So they have a couple of special rules. They have Disgustingly Resilient, which is each time a model in this unit loses a wound, roll a dice. On a 5 or 6, the model does not lose the wound. So effectively, they've got Feel No Pain. Really, it works obviously slightly differently, but really, it's effectively the same rule. It makes them exceptionally tough when you think of how good saves a lot of their units have, how tough they are naturally. To then have a 5 or a 6, we just ignore the wound is a really quite strong rule, considering as well it's built in. You're not paying any more points for it. It's just as it comes. So that's really cool. Going to be quite brutal, I think, in the rules, especially when you look at bigger creatures. I've seen some battle reports in 8th already where you've got great unclean ones, things like that. That have, I don't actually know how much they got, but let's say 18 wounds or something massive like that. And they've got a 3+ save and the toughness 8, and then they've got a 5+ ignore roll with their Disgusting Resilient. They're just really hard to get rid of, really hard. You've then got a rule called Plague Weapon, which is you can reroll any wound rolls of 1 when attacking with a plague weapon. So again, something that quite a lot of them have. We'll be going through what they're equipped with soon, but you'll see quite a lot of them have plague weapons. So again, rerolling wounds of 1 is great. It doesn't say combat or shooting, so you get it for both. So again, even if you're wounding on 4s in combat and shooting, you're effectively wounding on 3s really, because you're rerolling 1s. So that's really cool, and kind of just I like the Disgusting Resilience, a good bit of background about how tough Nurgle are. The Plague Weapon is a cool kind of background nod that, even if they just cut you a little bit, the plague will then infect you and kill you, even if you then kill the Plague Marine before he can finish you off. So you have the Death Guard psychic powers. So there's 3, as with all of them. There's Miasma of Pestilence, which has a warp charge value of 6. It says, if manifested, select a viable friendly unit within 18 inches, so it's got a good range, any friendly unit. Until the start of your next turn, psychic phase, your opponent must subtract 1 from all hit rolls that target that unit. So that's really good. It brings Marines up to hitting on 4s, brings Guard and Tower on to hitting on 5s. It's only warp charge 6, so averagely you'll cast it. And it's got an 18-inch range, so that's a nice starting power. Again, something that would make your army tougher, like I said earlier. I thought there might be a power like that there. You haven't got Gift of Contagion. So this got a watch charge of 7, so again you'll averagely just about cast it. If manifested, select a viable enemy unit within 18 inches, so again a pretty decent range of the Psyker, and roll a d3. Consult the table below to discover what characteristic penalty all models in that unit suffer until the start of your next psychic phase. This cannot reduce characteristic to less than 1, so it can't kill them effectively. So Gift of Contagion, they can either have Flyblown Palsy, which is -1 attack, Muscular Atrophy, which is -1 strength, or Liquefying Ague, which is -1 toughness. So one good thing about this power is that 2 of 3 are really good, and 1 of 3 is still solid. So you're casting it pretty reliably. You've got an 18-inch range, which is pretty good, and -1 toughness is great because if you're in combat with them or you're shooting them, either way, great stuff. -1 attack, again, great if you're in combat, and -1 strength is pretty good if you're in combat as well. So all of those are pretty solid. You don't really mind which one you roll. There is the slight negative that you can't pick. It is random, but considering they're all pretty good, I wouldn't be too bothered. I would just try and aim to cast it into a combat unit, because all those will help in combat, whereas, again, shooting, it's only really toughness that'll help you kill them easier. So I'd certainly be looking at combat with that. You've then got Plague Wind, which is a warp charge value of 5, so should be easily casting that the majority of the time.
If manifested, select a visible enemy unit within 18 inches, so again, decent range of the Psyker. Roll 1 dice for each model in that unit. The unit suffers a mortal wound on each roll of 6. So obviously quite circumstantial, which is why it's got a casting value of 5. If it's a Wraith Knight, you roll 1 dice, you have to get a 6 to get a mortal wound. It's still got 23 left, or whatever it is. A unit of Primaris Marines, there's 5 of them in the unit, may kill 1. It's not really going to be a big difference, but obviously you're also going to come across blobs of 30 boys or blobs of 30 termagants, and even though you're thinking, well, I should only actually kill what would it be, 5 anyway, that's still 5 dead. Secondly, you've only got to get a little lucky to get 6 or 7, and given it's a casting value of 5, it's pretty solid. And they are mortal wounds, they're not standard wounds. Remember, no saves, no nothing like that. So it's okay. These powers are better, but it's not too bad. If you've got all 3, then happy days. If you only have level 1 or 2, well, you can choose 1 or 2, pick the others, and go from that. So that's pretty good. They're pretty decent. Okay, so on to the Lord of Contagion, who's the HQ. He's power 9, he's single model, and he's armed with a Plague Reaper. One of the coolest things in 40k, I think, is the Plague Reapers that the Death Guard carry. They just look so cool, walk around with these like death's eyes, it just suits them so well, and they look brutal, which is really cool. So he's movement 4, so he is slow. I imagine that's a sort of, that's a theme throughout the army, I would presume. Movement 4, weapon skill 2+, bliss skill 2+, strength 4, toughness 5, 6 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, 2+ save. So like old Nurgle, he's a tank to try and kill, toughness 5, 6 wounds and a 2+ save. You're not getting through that anytime soon. In combat, he's got a 2+ to hit, and he has got 4 attacks. The strength 4's, average, but apart from that, it's a really nice stat line. He has disgusting resilient, so it's actually toughness 5, 6 wounds, 2+ save. Feel no pain, effectively. Nurgle's Gift. All Death Guard models within 7 inches of Lord of Contagion are surrounded by a deadly aura of plague and disease. Roll a d6 for each enemy unit that is within 1 inch of such a model at the start of your turn. On a roll of 4+, that unit suffers a mortal wound. So that's like a nice little bonus. It is quite widespread, so anyone with a model within 7 inches, and then anyone within 1 inch of them. So if you've got a few units in combat, he can kind of just stay just behind the combat, ready to run in when he's needed. But in the meantime, just deal out these mortal wounds. And again, I know it's only a 4+, and it's only 1 per unit, but again, if you're up against Terminators or something like that, it's basically on a 4+ you kill a Terminator, which is, pretty good, really. Or you take a wound off a Terminator anyway. So as a free little bonus, it's not too bad. Cataphract Die Armor. A Lord of the Contagion is a 4+ in 1 save, but you must halve the dice when rolling how far he advances. Not too bad. I mean, you can get him in a transport anyway, plus some armies are going to be coming to you, Death Guard, aren't always going to be going forwards. They'll outshoot armies like Tyranids, things like that, so the enemy might be coming to you anyway. And the 4+ invulnerable save's also well worth it. So he's now got a 2+ with a 4+, or 2+ with a 5+, or 4+, 5+, depending on how it goes. So he's very, very well protected. And he's got teleport strike, so effectively you can teleport him in within 9 inches of any models, but he can try and charge, so that's pretty cool. And finally we've got Plague Reaper. So it's a melee weapon, he gets +2 strength, so his one weakness on his stat line, strength, is actually now solved, because he will be strength 6 in combat. It's -3 AP. It's got Plague Weapon, so re-rolling wounds of 1, which might be the only thing you fail on, you might well be winning on 2s, so that's brilliant. And it's damage 3. Which is pretty horrible when you think about it. I mean, he's got 4 attacks, so if 2 of those go through, that's 6 wounds automatically. No D3s, no D6s. So that's a really nice weapon. So overall, he's a really nice, solid choice. How much is he? He's 139, and he just comes with the Plague. What's it called? Plague Reaper, which is 45. So in the end, he's about 184. So he is quite a lot of points, but characters have often gone up in points in this edition, and he does give some nice bonuses, but most importantly, he is pretty nails. So slightly expensive for maybe 1500 points or below, but not too bad, but certainly anything over that, he's well affordable. So we've got the Malignant Plaguecaster. So he's a single model as well. He has a corrupted staff, a bolt pistol, blight grenades, and crack grenades. So his stat line is movement 5, so he is a little faster. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a 3+ save. So again, pretty solid stat line. He's definitely a lesser character with his 3+ save, leadership 8. He's also his 4 wounds. 4 wounds, obviously in the old edition was a lot. You know, people like Lysander and Calgar had 4 wounds, but in this edition it's actually a reasonably poor amount for a character to have. I mean, for instance, if you was fighting the Lord of Contagion, he'd do damage 3 with 1 hit. He'd be nearly dead with 1 hit. So keep in mind he's definitely a lieutenant type character. He gets disgustingly resilient though to give him that little bit more toughness, like Ornurgle. He has pestilential fallout. Each time a Malignant Plaguecaster successfully manifests a psychic power with a psychic test of 7 or more, so that's 2 of his powers, the nearest enemy unit within 7 inches suffers a mortal wound after the effects of the psychic power have been resolved. So that's a pretty awesome rule, and a incentive to close the gap. So every time you cast a psychic power with 7 or more, an enemy unit suffers a mortal wound within 7 inches. So you're getting psychic power and you're getting a free wound. So that makes those psychic powers even better. A free mortal wound with every one you cast. So that's pretty awesome. He generates psychic powers, as we know. He can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers in each friendly phase and attempt to deny 1, so pretty standard. His bolt pistols, 12 inches, pistol 1, strength 4, AP dash, damage 1, so standard stuff. Corrupted staff, melee, +2 strength, so he'll be strength 6, AP -1, damage D3. So although he's not great at necessarily taking damage or dealing it out, he is okay at both with the disgusting resilient and that weapon now. He's not too bad. You've got blight grenades and crack grenades, both a 6-inch range. You get 1 grenade with the crack grenade. Blight grenade you get D6. The blight grenade is strength 3, AP dash, damage 1. It is a plague weapon though, so reroll 1s to wound. The crack grenade's grenade 1, strength 6, AP -1, and damage D3. So crack grenades for monsters, blight grenades for units. Pretty standard stuff. So let's see how much he'll set you back. So he's 95 points. He has a bolt pistol which is free, blight grenades which are free, crack grenades which are free. But he does have corrupted staff which is 19 points. Which is well worth, to be fair. So that puts him on 114 points. So yeah, in the 1500 points, but certainly under 1500 points armies, or as a second commander in bigger games, he's pretty solid. He'll give you some good psychic powers. He's okay in combat, and he's generally a pretty solid hero. Okay, so we've then got the Noxious Blightbringer, which is power 4. So a Noxious Blightbringer is a single model. He's actually an elite choice, not a HQ. Is that the same for the Mallow? No, the Plaguecaster is a HQ, but the Blightbringer is an elite. Helps you get him in your army. He's armed with a Cursed Plague Bell, a plasma pistol, blight grenades, crack grenades, and he's also equipped with a Toxin of Misery. Find out what that is in a minute. So he's got a 5-inch move, 3+ ballistic skill and weapon skill, strength 4, toughness 5, wounds 4, attacks 3, leadership 8, 3+. So like the sorcerer, kind of a bit more of a lieutenant-like stat line. Not going to survive too long or deal out too much damage in combat, but he can do a bit, you know, especially against a unit rather than another HQ. He's got disgusting resilience, so he gets that 5-up save. So Toxin of Misery. Enemy units must subtract 1 from their leadership whilst they are within 7 inches of the Blightbringers. Enemy Psychers must subtract 2 instead. In addition, if a Death Guard unit is within 7 inches, when it advances, roll 2 dice and discard the lowest. So this Toxin of Misery is some sort of like spore cloud perhaps, and it infects and demoralises the enemy while invigorating the Plague Marines around him. So the Plague Marines advance quicker.